1, 2, 3.
Hello everyone, this is Kyle Gawaz with Poor2Pro Car Sales Training Podcast. Become a Sales Titan. We are in Season 6. This is Episode 6 called the KG Close. I've been working on this close for years and years, and I've fine-tuned it to be a closing machine, and I finally get to share it with the world. I hope you guys enjoy the KG Close. If you're not on Spotify, try to watch this episode on Spotify, because a lot of podcast places out there don't allow video podcasts, and this is going to be a video podcast. And when I start the close, I'm going to show you what it looks like on paper and how this close works. So if you're not on Spotify, I'll put a link in the description of this very episode if you're on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to it, to get over to Spotify so you can watch the video version of this. So when the close actually starts happening, you'll see it switch over to my hands and the paper and my pen, and you'll get to see me in action close this. Become a sales titan. I always want to go over what a sales titan is. A sales titan is a car salesperson that comes to work and is selling that 15, 20, 25 plus cars a month. This is the salesperson that you may be, or you may be trying to be, or you may see at your dealership, that is always selling a car. They're always with a customer. There's someone always asking for them. The fact that you're listening to this very episode in these words tells me that you're on your way to becoming the sales titan, and the sales titan you want to be, to making that 6 figures or more a year. You know, a sales titan is where you want to be. Keep listening to the podcast, share it with people. Let's all bring the car sales business to the next level. So that way when customers come in, we know how to close them, we know how to address them, we know how to overcome any objection thrown at us. I hope you're having a good month so far. I hope you guys all finish strong and girls finish strong in the car business this month. Keep up the good work. I know you guys go to work, clock in, and look for successes every day. Look for experience every day. Remember, if you take it up and you help them as best you can and they don't buy for some odd reason, you still have a commission there. It's a commission in experience. So take every up seriously and try to get them through that process so you get better with your verbiages. I'm going to start doing live broadcasts of me in action, talking about the car business, closes, etc. And Rumble is the place I want to start doing some live broadcasts, but you have to have a certain amount of followers to get the access to live footage, live broadcasts. So make sure you go to rumble.com, look for Poor2Pro. I'm going to have a link to that also in the description here. If you haven't already, go to Amazon and go buy the Poor2Pro Daily Workbook Titan Edition. It's a beautiful workbook. It keeps you busy every day. It keeps you in the mindset of selling cars, and it gets you to start creating good habits. The salespeople that are truly using it, how the instructions say, are the ones selling more cars. They have an advantage over the person next to them. Extremely small investment. It helps the podcast, but it's going to help you tenfold to sell more cars. Also, when you're on Amazon, type in Poor2Pro sold as gold. Small investment, but it keeps track of all your sold customers. Don't leave it to chance that your CRM system is going to remind you. Don't leave it to chance that your CRM system is going to keep track of your sold customers. You have to have a way to track these sold customers. The Sold as Gold book is just that. It's a gold mine of your customers. What happens if you leave your dealership? You get to take all these customers with you, and they can follow everything that you do. Thank you guys for all your support. All right, let's talk about the KG Close. A lot of times when customers and salespeople get to the desk, there's a lot of non-professional types of closing going on, especially non-practice closes. The salesman is just winging it at the desk. They don't have a set way of closing a customer. Whatever comes their way, they try to adapt to it, because they just know that the customer is going to have some objection. So they're preemptively ready for these objections instead of taking control at the desk. And that's where the KG Close really comes in handy. When you sit down with the customer, it's not time to flounder and ask silly questions and get silly answers. Well, what were you thinking about paying? Where were you thinking about your payment going to be? You know, anytime you ask a question about money, they're going to lowball you. So you got to stop asking about the money part. What you need to do is take control of the conversation at the desk and be the professional and lead them to the path that allows them to buy the car with no negotiating. No negotiating equals bigger commissions. No negotiating actually means a happier customer. It's those customers that you grind on and you guys go back and forth for 45 minutes and you end up making a mini and then they leave you a bad survey. And then you have the customer that you get the mega pounder deal. They're happy. They leave you a good survey. Why is that? Why is the grind the mini deal and also the bad survey? It's because we didn't take control. The customer had control in that. The customer sent you back and forth to the desk 12 times to make a deal instead of you taking control at the desk. Now, there isn't one cookie cutter close that's going to close every deal. You still have to adapt to the customer in front of you. But this close is going to help you with 90+% of the customers out there that are payment shoppers. But they know they're not supposed to talk about payment. They're supposed to get you on the price first. So a lot of these customers are payment-driven customers that want to negotiate on price because we're allowing them to negotiate on price. So this is where the KG close comes in, and I'm going to show you how to use it. Don't use it right away. Make sure you practice at the house, start perfecting it, start getting fluent with it, so when you do actually go to use it, you can sound as confident as I am in this podcast episode. When you present the KG close, you want to make sure you sound strong, convincing, and a leader of the deal, someone that they're not going to oppose, because if they oppose you, you're going to have a perfect rebuttal that's within the KG close. The KG close takes care of itself, and I'm going to show you that right now. So if you're not on the video yet, make sure you tune into the Spotify version of this episode so you can see the paper, my hand, my writing, and you can hear my voice going over the close. So we're going to be doing the KG close. So this is the KG close. Now I used a big font. I printed out an original write-up that my dealership uses, but the font was too tiny, so this looks pretty basic, but I'm using big fonts, so I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. So here I am with the write-up, and I'm just going to go into character with my customer London here. So this is the KG close. All right, London, I got your numbers here. So we have the price $39,998, which I told you outside. Then you have your tax $38.74, your doc fee $579, and that puts your total at $44,451. Now, what's really cool about our dealership is our dealership will allow you, with our banks that we use, to go from 24 months all the way up to either 60, 72, or sometimes if your credit's really good, they'll allow you to go to 84. And what we like to do at our dealership is figure out, okay, what is the best interest rate we can get you? We're one of the few dealerships on the planet that don't mark up the interest rate. So if you get approved for a certain amount of interest, we don't try to bump it up. And then what we do after that is figure out, okay, at 60 months, here's your payment. Here's 72 months, here's your payment. And if you do get qualified, we can show you in 84 months based on the rate that you qualify for on one of these. And then you can take a moment and say, you know what, Kyle, this one looks good. And then you got a deal. And what I'll do is I'll tell my boss that we're going to start with $0 down. Unless you wanted to put money down, that's totally up to you. Okay, pause. So we're going to go back. I want to explain what I did there. Is I took the write-up and I didn't allow the customer to fester on these numbers, because we all know that 90% of buyers, 90+%, are payment shoppers. So if I sit here and go over these numbers and I leave the page there, what is the customer going to say? Well, can you do better on that? Because all I've allowed them to do is stare at the number. The longer a customer stares at this number, this number, this number, they're going to question it. So what you have to do is go through it. So let's do it again. Repetition. Hey, London, thanks for coming in. Here's the price of the vehicle that I told you on the lot. You have your tax, $38.74, your doc fee of $574 or $579, and your total is $44,451. What's really cool about our dealership and the banks we use, they allow us to go from 24 months all the way up to 60, 72, and if your credit is really good, they'll allow you to go to 84. And what we like to do at our dealership is find you the absolute best rate. We're one of the few dealerships on the planet that don't mark up this interest rate. And then we'll come back and say, okay, hey, at 60 months, there's your payment. At 72, there's your payment. And at 84, if you qualify, there's your payment. And then you can take a moment and say, you know what? This will work perfect. And I can start with $0 down, $0 cash down, unless you tell me otherwise. If you want to put money down, the better the scenario gets. but I can start here and see what kind of payments, and then you can pick which one works for you. Now, here's what will happen. Two things will happen here. They're going to say, okay, that sounds good. You need to take this paper and make it go bye-bye. It has to leave. So what I used to do on the sales floor is the moment I got through this, I didn't let them question anything. I took my paper and I put it in my file, and I instantly brought up the credit app, moved my keyboard, boom, boom, boom. Okay, what's your, are you going to be registering your name or both your names? Oh, both? Okay, let me get your driver's license. And while you're in your wallets, go ahead and grab your insurance card. Boom, boom, boom. And I get the credit app. And I never allow my customer to see this paper again. I gave them the information they needed to make a proper deal. And why in the world would I let them flip it over again? What's going to happen? They're going to fester on that. They're going to fester on that. And they're going to fester on that. And the longer they stare at this, the more they're going to question it. And they're going to say, well, you didn't do anything on price. You can't do that if you put the paper away. It's gone. And now you're pulling up the credit app. Now what happens to the customer that says, because you're going to run into different scenarios, and I mentioned that this close takes care of itself, and here's what I'm talking about. Remember this thing that I just talked about. If the customer says, well, you haven't done anything on the price. Well, I totally understand that. I am not like other dealerships. Other dealerships will say stuff like this. You know what? I'll give you that big fat discount if you use our financing. You've heard terms like this. If you used our financing. So you come in and you grind my face off and my manager's face off for $2,500 off this price. This is, pause for a second. I actually tell my customers this. Unpause. We're going to go back and forth for 20 minutes. You're going to get $2,500 out of me. I'm going to go back to my finance manager, and the money we lost at other dealerships, this is what they do. Okay, well, we got them approved for this rate. Why don't we bump the rate up just enough to cover the money we gave you, Mr. Customer? That's what other dealerships do. So you feel warm and fuzzy that, oh, they gave me $2,500 off, when really on the back end, they marked up the interest rate just enough to cover that. We don't do business like that here. Yes, our prices stay where they're at. Yes, I'm going to get full price out of this, which feels very awkward for you because you've been conditioned by other dealerships to grind, and then they just get you on the back. And our dealership is like, nope, we put our best price up front. We give the customer what their credit earned, and we don't try to screw them anywhere else. So before you give me a yes or no or blow out of my showroom, let me finish my job. Let me show you what the payments will be. And then if you want to renegotiate or beat me in, fine. You can do whatever you need to do to make you feel warm and fuzzy. But I'm telling you, the way we do business is how we sell so many cars. Okay, next one. Because practice makes perfect. I haven't done these closes as a salesman in over 6 years, but I get to use them as a sales manager when my guys need me, and I come out with the same thing. Oh, hi London, nice meeting you. Here's the price, $39,998. You have your tax, $38.74, and your doc fee of $579, which brings your total to $44,451. What's really cool about our dealership is when we work with our banks, they allow us to go from 24 months all the way up to 60 months. Sometimes they'll let us go 72, and if your credit is really good, which I'm sure it is, they'll let us go up to 84 months. And what we do is we get you approved, we get the interest rate, and then we can come back and say, and this is to the penny, here's your payment at 60 months, here's your payment at 72, and if you get qualified for it, here's your payment at 84. And then you can take a moment and say, you know what, I think I like this one. All right, let's wrap it up. And we'll start with zero cash down, unless you want to put money down. Any money you put down helps the cause, okay? We're one of the few dealerships on the planet that don't mark up this interest rate. So when we come back, you are getting our very best deal. And we throw that thing back in the file, and we pull up the credit app. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about taking control at the desk and not allowing the customer to dictate the pace of the sale. Let's do it again. Repetition. Practice makes perfect. All right, London. So we got the vehicles priced at $39,998, which I showed you on the lot. You have tax of $38.74. Good old Uncle Sam gets his cut. You have the documentation fee so we can process your deal with the state. Your total out the door is $44,451. What's really cool about our dealership and the banks we use, they allow us to go from 24 months all the way up to 60, sometimes 72. And if you have really good credit, they'll allow us to go to 84 months. And what we're going to do is get you approved for the absolute best interest rate. We're one of the few dealerships that don't mark that up. And then we come back and say, okay, here's your payment at 60, here's your payment at 72, and here's your payment at 84. And then you can take a moment and say, you know what? I like this. Let's go with that. And I can start with zero cash down, unless you want me to throw down 10,000 or whatever you had in mind, but I can start here. And then if I get a payment and you're like, well, what would it be with 2,000 down? Then I can go back and address, okay, he wants to go 60 months with 2,000 down. Oh, well, Kyle, we haven't talked about price yet. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, we did actually. We put our best price up front. We're one of the few dealerships that don't have crazy prices. And a lot of times customers at those other dealerships will grind back and forth, tear the salesman and the manager's face off. And the dealership will say, you know what, we'll give you that $2,500 off that you're asking for if you use our financing. You feel warm and fuzzy, but their financing is this. They mark up the interest rate just enough to cover the $2,500 they gave you in the front. So you feel warm and fuzzy because of that, but all they did was mark this up. You've gained nothing. They've done nothing for you. And then you come to a dealership like mine where I'm honest and upfront, and I hope you can see the work ethic that I put in to deserve the price we get, which feels very foreign to you. I know it feels strange to pay that price, but we don't do what other dealerships do. That's why we're so successful here. That is why we sell so many cars. And I'm going to come back with exact numbers down to the penny. It only takes a few minutes. I throw that paper in my file, I pull up the keyboard, and I start doing a credit app. Do I need to go over it again? No, because you can watch it again. The key to this close is you go through the numbers without hesitation, with pure confidence and no hiccups. This is why practice makes perfect. You can't stumble through this. The price is $39,998, and then the tax is $38.74. Everyone pays tax, and the doc fee is $579, and yeah, even I get charged that at the dealership. That's just our doc fee to process all the paperwork. We got to pay the people in the back to do the paperwork. Well, doesn't that seem high? You're going to start getting stuff like that. Well, what about the price? I'm not paying $39,998 because you hesitate and you go slow and you're not confident in your dealership. So when you have the write-up and you have the numbers, you go through it extremely quick, but not too quick. You don't want to act like you're hiding something. You go through every line. If you have accessories or gap, accessories, lift kits, wheels, whatever, you go through each line. No matter what dollar amount is, you cover it. You don't want to leave any stone unturned, and you don't want to flutter through it and skip stuff. $39,998 is the price. Tax is $38.74. Documentation fee is $579. Gap is $895. The slick and shine is $595. That brings your total to $44,451. Good thing about our dealership and the banks we use, we go 24 all the way up to 60, 72, or 84 months. And what we do is we get you approved for the very best rate that your credit qualifies for, and then we'll come back just after a few minutes and say, okay, here's your payment at 60 months, here's your payment at 72, here's your payment at 84, and then you can take a moment with you and your husband and say, you know what, I think we're going to do this one. All right, no problem, you got a deal. I want to make it affordable. And we can start with zero cash down, or if you want to throw some money down ahead of time, you can. Doesn't matter. But what we can do also is after I get an approval, if you want to adjust the payment, you can always throw some money down on it too. So we're one of the few banks that don't mark up the interest rates. That's pretty much it. I throw my paper in the file, I pull out the keyboard, I get the credit out. How are you guys going to be registering it? One name or both names? Okay, both. Let me get your driver's license. And while you're in there, let me borrow your insurance card because I'm going to need that to finish the car deal. I'm assuming the sale. So that's the KG close. Now, I know I went through that pretty darn quick. I tried doing it a few times for you so you can see it does vary as you're speaking because you're going to have different customers and you're going to say different things, and it's a different day. It's not going to always be exactly the same, but the moral of the story is you're going to go through the numbers in the front, you're going to flip the page around and go through that exact script. Not word for word, make it your own, but try to stick to that script as best as possible with extreme confidence. The key to that close is extreme confidence. Now, if you have a cash buyer, different story. If you have someone that's a get me done, different story. If you have someone that's pre-approved and they have a letter with USAA, different story. But the most of the time, salespeople are losing gross because they don't have a go-to system to close the normal buyer. And 90% of people, since they're already financing, take a large percentage of those people that are the normal buyer that don't have their financing set up. They haven't bought a car in a while. They're not highly educated on buying and selling and rates and bumping rates and all this stuff, but we're educating them as a professional, and we're taking them through the process, and we're not allowing them to stare at the numbers. If you stare at the numbers too long, you stare at the payment too long, they're going to back out of it. They're going to get scared. That is why it's key that after you do your pitch, you put that paper in your file and you pull up the credit app. If they have objections on the price, that's when the closing technique, the KG close, takes care of itself. They're going to flip the page around and say, well, you didn't do anything on the price for me. I understand that. We put our best price right up front. And yes, it does feel foreign for you to pay the sticker price. It's strange, but we do this every single day. Now, if you want, other dealerships will give you that money off the price, and they'll use verbiages like this. And you've heard this, Mr. Customer. If you use our financing, I'll give you that $2,500 off. I'll give you that $1,000 off. All they're doing is marking the interest rate up just enough to cover the $1,000 that they gave you. So they've done you no favors. Really, they were being deceitful. Whereas our dealership, yes, you pay the price on it, but we don't do any tricks and things with the interest rates. And then I can come out with a true approval, a true payment down to the penny for you. And then you can decide if you want to buy it or not. Don't tell me yes or no. Let me get through that process, and then you can see what the payment is. If you can go through that smooth, confident, as a professional, they aren't going to balk at it. They're not going to even know how to approach it. The reason why that close takes care of itself is because when they do talk about the price, then you can talk about what other dealerships do. They've conditioned you to want to negotiate, and then they mark up the interest rate. But on that back page, remember what I said, we give you the best possible rate, we don't mark it up. Now, whether your dealership marks up the rate or not, that's up to your finance guy and your sales manager. But in your head as a salesperson, you are giving them the best rate they can possibly get with no markups. Just believe it. Believe the pencil, and go out there with extreme confidence that, yep, here's your approval, just like you wanted, 72 months. Or at that point, when you come out with different with the payments at 60 and 72, they can change it at that point. Yeah, let's go 60. We thought about it. The rate's a little bit better at 60, and we're going to put $5,000 down, Kyle. There's some variables after, but the moral of the story is you put the numbers away, you pull out the credit app. If you've shown the numbers, you've given them different ways that they're going to be able to buy the car 60, 72, 84 months. You put those numbers away, you fill out a credit app, you have their driver's license, you have their insurance card. Guess what they're doing? They're buying a car. You just have to take control and take them through the steps of the sale. Just like every customer doesn't have enough time for a test drive. Well, of course they have enough time. They drove 20 minutes to your dealership to not have enough time for a test drive? No, it's because you haven't closed them on a test drive. You haven't closed them on working the numbers. You haven't closed them on your pencil. These are things that you have to work on as a car salesman, is these miniature closes that get to the final big yes, the final close. So practice the KG close. Look at, here's an example. I am a sales manager on my day off doing pencils at my kitchen table while my daughter is filming me and learning herself. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about becoming a sales titan. If you want to get to the next level, you have to do stuff outside of the dealership. I will preach it and preach it. And people are saying, well, I'm not obsessed like you, Kyle. I hear this at my dealership. I'm not like you. I don't want to go home and talk more about the car business. Okay, then keep making $3,000 to $5,000 a month. And then the people that do, you know what, Kyle, I've been doing stuff outside of work. I've been trying to study. I've been listening to podcasts. I've been watching videos. Wow, isn't it so coincidental and convenient that they're now making $8,000 to $10,000 a month and they're starting to see some success? Scratch my head. How does that happen? This is what I'm talking about. To become a sales titan, you have to train before the game. You have to learn to earn. These are the things to get stronger. And the KG Close is just one more tool in your toolbox. You don't have to use it every time, but it's a great way to start a closing and to gauge where your customer's at, because they may say, no, I'm paying cash. Okay, here's your out the door. Get the checkbook out. Right? And you just assume the close. Oh, I have my own financing. Hey, no, not a problem. Would you be opposed to me trying to get you a better interest rate with our banks? It's not going to wreck your credit. I'll get some basic information and I'll see if I can beat your interest rate, because my goal here, Mr. Customer, is to save you the most amount of money on this purchase and leave here with your new vehicle, you and your new vehicle with a smile, and you come back and send me repeat and referral customers. You come back and see me as a repeat and you send family and friends to me. That is mission accomplished. The greatest compliment a salesperson can receive is a referral or a repeat customer. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys need help using this, make sure to practice, listen to the podcast, and message me. I don't mind you guys messaging me, you girls messaging me about questions. I love hearing feedback from you guys and girls out there. I get messages from around the world, and it's wonderful to be able to talk to people in Ireland, in Australia, in Canada, in the USA, in Brazil. I mean, it's amazing the people that reach out to me for help in the car business and guidance, and I'm privileged and I'm honored. And this podcast means so much to me because I get to see the good it's doing in people like you that are listening. So I always want to say thank you, and I appreciate my fans out there. Please send me a message, just saying hi even. Go to Instagram, go to Facebook, find me. All my links are in the description, and simply say hi. And I love to connect with you guys and girls. And again, my goal is to be the #1 car sales trainer on the planet. In some of these websites where they rank podcasts for sales training, car sales, I've ranked as high as 5th place. So the podcast is getting bigger and stronger, but I just need some help sharing it. Please support the podcast with donations and buying the books and sharing the podcast as best as you can. Appreciate your guys' support. I look forward to meeting all of you in person one day. I'll see you on Rumble. Kyle Galaz signing out.